If you would allow me just a moment of your time, there is something I need to share with you, something that has been revealed to me through years of observation, through countless readings, through the silent whispers that come when we dare to listen beyond the noise of this world. I do not speak lightly, and I do not come to you with empty promises or hollow words. What I am about to share has the power to reorganize everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your path, about the very nature of the gift you carry. You see, if you have found your way to this message, it is no accident. There are no coincidences in this universe, only patterns we have not yet learned to read. And if you have been feeling something stirring within you, something you cannot quite name, something that both excites and terrifies you in equal measure, then you need to hear what I am about to tell you. Because what you have, this thing that pulses beneath the surface of your everyday life, can be either the greatest blessing of your existence or the heaviest burden you will ever carry. And the difference between these two destinies comes down to one simple thing: whether you understand it or whether you fear it. I have spent my life in service to those who seek, to those who question, to those who sense that there is more to this reality than what our five senses reveal. And in all my years, in all the readings I have given, in all the souls I have encountered, there is one pattern that emerges again and again. There are those among us who carry something extra, something that sets them apart. Not better, not worse, but different. And this difference, this particular quality of being, demands to be understood. Because when it is misunderstood, when it is suppressed or feared or rejected, it becomes a source of suffering. But when it is embraced, when it is cultivated with wisdom and care, it becomes a doorway to experiences most people will never know. Before we go any further, I want to ask you to do something for me. If this message resonates with you, if you feel that pull in your chest that tells you this is meant for you, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Not because I need the numbers, but because content like this, content that speaks to the deeper mysteries of human experience, is difficult to find in a world that prefers surface-level distractions. And I want you to stay until the very end, because what I will share in the final moments will tie everything together in a way that might just change how you see yourself forever. And when we are done, I want you to leave a comment telling me, have you experienced this? Have you felt this stirring? Because your story matters, and there are others who need to hear it. Others who feel alone in their experience and need to know they are not the only ones. Now, let us begin with a question. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt the weight of what happened there before you arrived? Have you ever met someone for the first time and known, without any logical reason, exactly what kind of person they were? Have you ever had a dream that later came true? Or thought of someone moments before they called you? Or felt a sudden urge to avoid a certain path, only to discover later that danger was waiting there? If you have experienced any of these things, then you know what I am talking about. You know that there is a faculty within you that operates beyond the rational mind, beyond the five senses, beyond what our modern world tells us is possible. This faculty has many names. Some call it intuition. Some call it psychic ability. Some call it sensitivity. Some call it a gift from God. And in a way, all of these names are correct, because what we are talking about is the soul's ability to perceive beyond the veil of physical reality. It is the part of you that is connected to the greater consciousness, the universal mind, the divine intelligence that flows through all things. And if you have this, if you have felt its presence in your life, then you are standing at a crossroads. Because this gift, this ability, this heightened sensitivity, it will not let you live a normal life. It will not let you pretend that everything is fine when it is not. It will not let you ignore the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. But here is what they do not tell you. Here is what most people never understand about this gift. It is not just about seeing the future or reading people's thoughts or sensing energies. Those are merely the surface manifestations, the visible symptoms of something much deeper. What you actually have, what is actually happening within you, is that the boundary between your individual consciousness and the universal consciousness is thinner than it is for most people. You are more porous, more permeable, more open to the currents that flow through the invisible world. And this means you receive more information, yes, but it also means you absorb more energy, you feel more deeply, you are affected more profoundly by everything around you. Imagine for a moment that most people live inside a house with thick walls and small windows. They are protected from the elements, insulated from the storms, sheltered from the intensity of the world outside. But you live in a house made of glass. Everything comes through. The light, yes, but also the cold, the heat, the wind, the rain. You see everything. You feel everything. You experience everything with an intensity that others cannot comprehend. And this is both your power and your vulnerability. I have seen this pattern countless times in my readings. A soul comes to me, confused, overwhelmed, sometimes even frightened by their own experiences. They tell me about the voices they hear, the visions they see, the feelings that wash over them without warning. They tell me about the exhaustion that comes from being in crowded places, the way they seem to absorb other people's emotions like a sponge absorbs water. They tell me about the dreams that are too vivid to be mere dreams, the synchronicities that are too frequent to be coincidences, the knowing that comes from nowhere and yet is always right. And I tell them what I am telling you now. You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are not cursed. You are simply more awake than most. You are operating with faculties that others have allowed to atrophy. You are tuned to frequencies that most people have learned to ignore. And yes, this makes life more challenging in some ways, but it also makes it infinitely richer, infinitely more meaningful, infinitely more connected to the truth of what we really are. But, and this is crucial, You must learn to work with this gift rather than against it. You must learn to protect yourself, to ground yourself, to discern between what is yours and what belongs to others. Because if you do not, if you simply remain open and unprotected, you will be overwhelmed. You will be drained. You will begin to see your sensitivity as a curse rather than a blessing. And that would be a tragedy, because the world needs people like you. The world needs those who can see beyond the surface, who can feel the undercurrents, who can sense what is coming before it arrives. Let me share with you something that was revealed to me many years ago, something that has guided my own journey and the guidance I offer to others. There are 3 stages to working with this kind of sensitivity, 3 levels of mastery that one must move through, and understanding these stages can help you see where you are and where you need to go. The first stage is unconscious reception. This is where most people begin. You are receiving information, you are feeling energies, you are having experiences that you cannot explain, but you do not understand what is happening. You might think you are just anxious, or overly emotional, or too sensitive for your own good. You might try to shut it down, to numb yourself, to pretend it is not happening. And this is the most dangerous stage, because when you resist what is natural to you, when you fight against your own nature, you create internal conflict, you create suffering, you split yourself in 2, one part trying to be normal and the other part screaming to be acknowledged. The second stage is conscious awareness. This is when you begin to recognize what is happening. You start to notice the patterns. You realize that the feeling you get in your stomach when you meet certain people is actually your intuition warning you. You understand that the dreams you have are not random, but meaningful. You begin to see that you are not like everyone else. And instead of fighting this difference, you start to become curious about it. This is a crucial turning point, because awareness is the first step toward mastery. You cannot work with something you do not acknowledge. You cannot develop a skill you pretend not to have. The third stage is intentional cultivation. This is where you move from being a passive receiver to an active participant. You learn techniques to protect your energy. You develop practices to ground yourself. You study the spiritual traditions that have worked with these faculties for thousands of years. You learn to turn your sensitivity on and off, rather than being at its mercy all the time. You discover how to use your gift in service, how to help others with the insights you receive, how to be a channel for healing and truth, rather than just a sponge for everyone else's chaos. And here is what I want you to understand. If you are watching this, if you have made it this far, you are likely somewhere between the first and second stage. Or perhaps you are in the second stage and ready to move into the third. And this is exactly where you need to be. Because the fact that you are seeking this information, the fact that you are willing to explore this part of yourself, means you are ready for the next level of your journey. But I must warn you, the path of developing your sensitivity is not an easy one. It requires discipline. It requires discernment. It requires a willingness to be different, to stand apart, to trust yourself even when others doubt you. There will be people who do not understand. There will be people who mock you, who call you delusional, who try to convince you that what you experience is not real. And you will have to develop the strength to trust your own experience over their opinions. I remember a reading I did many years ago for a young woman who came to me in despair. She had been seeing things since childhood, feeling things, knowing things, and her family, well-meaning but ignorant, had told her it was all in her head. They had taken her to doctors, given her medications, tried to fix what they saw as broken, and by the time she came to me, she was barely holding on. She had almost convinced herself that they were right, that she was defective, that her experiences were symptoms of illness rather than signs of a gift. And I looked at her, and I saw what she could not yet see. I saw the light around her, the sensitivity, the openness to the spiritual realms, and I told her the truth. I told her that she was not sick, she was awake. I told her that what she had was precious, rare, valuable. I told her that the world had tried to dim her light because bright lights make people uncomfortable, but that did not mean she should let them succeed. And I watched as something shifted in her. I watched as the shame began to lift, as the fear began to dissolve, as she started to reclaim the part of herself she had been taught to reject. And this is what I want for you. I want you to reclaim your gift. I want you to stop apologizing for being sensitive. I want you to stop trying to fit into a world that was not designed for people like us. Because here is the truth they do not want you to know. The world needs sensitives. The world needs people who can feel what others cannot feel, who can see what others cannot see, who can sense the currents beneath the surface. We are living in a time of great change, great upheaval, great transformation. And those who are only operating with their 5 physical senses are going to be lost in the chaos. But those who have developed their inner senses, those who can navigate by intuition and spiritual guidance, those who can read the signs and symbols that the universe is constantly offering, they will not only survive, they will thrive. Now, I want to talk about something that many people with this gift struggle with, and that is the question of boundaries. When you are naturally open, naturally receptive, naturally empathic, it can be very difficult to know where you end and others begin. You walk into a room feeling fine, and you walk out feeling terrible, and you do not even realize that you have absorbed the emotional state of everyone around you. You talk to a friend who is going through a hard time, and suddenly you are carrying their pain as if it were your own. You watch the news, and you feel the suffering of the world so intensely that it becomes overwhelming. This is one of the greatest challenges for sensitives, and it is also one of the most important skills to develop. You must learn to distinguish between what is yours and what is not yours. You must learn to feel compassion without taking on other people's burdens. You must learn to be present to suffering without being consumed by it. And this is not about becoming cold or closed off. It is about becoming wise. It is about understanding that you cannot help anyone if you are drowning in their energy. There is an old teaching that I have found to be profoundly true. It says that the spiritual warrior must have the heart of a dove and the skin of a rhinoceros. The heart of a dove means you remain soft, open, loving, compassionate. But the skin of a rhinoceros means you are protected, you are boundaried, you do not let everything penetrate you. And this is the balance that sensitives must learn, how to stay open without being overwhelmed, how to feel deeply without being destroyed by what you feel. Let me give you a practical technique that has helped many people I have worked with. When you are in a situation where you are absorbing too much, when you can feel yourself taking on energies that are not yours, I want you to do this. Close your eyes for just a moment, even if you are in the middle of a conversation or a crowded room. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine that you are releasing everything that does not belong to you. See it flowing out of your body like water, like smoke, like light. And then imagine a protective boundary around yourself. Some people see it as a bubble of light. Some people see it as a cloak. Some people simply feel it as an energetic shield. It does not matter what form it takes. What matters is the intention. You are saying to the universe, to your own soul, to the energies around you, I am open to love. I am open to truth. I am open to guidance. But I am not available to be a dumping ground for everyone else's chaos. And you practice this. You practice it every day. You practice it until it becomes second nature. Because protection is not about shutting down. It is about discernment. It is about choosing what you allow into your field and what you do not. Another aspect of this gift that I want to address is the loneliness that often comes with it. When you see and feel things that others do not, when you operate on a different frequency, it can be very isolating. You might feel like you do not fit in anywhere. You might feel like you are too much for some people and not enough for others. You might feel like you are living in a different world than everyone around you, and in a way, you are. But here is what I want you to know. You are not alone. There are more of us than you realize. We are scattered across the world, often hidden, often quiet, but we are here. And one of the reasons I create this content, one of the reasons I share these messages, is to create a space where sensitives can find each other, can recognize each other, can support each other. Because when you find your tribe, when you find people who understand what you experience because they experience it too, everything changes. The loneliness lifts, the doubt fades. You realize that you are not crazy. You are not broken. You are simply part of a different kind of family, a soul family, a family of those who see beyond the veil. So I want to encourage you, when you finish watching this, go to the comments, share your experience, tell your story, because there is someone else watching this right now who needs to hear that they are not the only one. There is someone who has been feeling alone in their sensitivity, and your words might be exactly what they need to hear. And in sharing, you will also find that you are not alone. You will find your people. You will find your tribe. Now, let us talk about the shadow side of this gift, because it would be irresponsible of me to only speak of the blessings without acknowledging the challenges. When you have heightened sensitivity, when you are more open to the spiritual realms, you are not only open to the light, you are also more aware of the darkness. You might sense negative energies. You might feel the presence of entities or spirits. You might have experiences that frighten you, that make you want to shut down completely. And this is where many people get stuck. They have a frightening experience, and they decide that their gift is dangerous, that it is opening them up to things they do not want to encounter. And so they close down. They shut off their sensitivity. They build walls around themselves. And while this might provide temporary relief, it also cuts them off from the very thing that makes them who they are. Here is what I have learned through my own journey and through the countless readings I have done. The darkness cannot harm you unless you give it power through fear. Fear is the doorway through which negative energies enter. When you are afraid, when you are in a state of panic or terror, your vibration drops and you become vulnerable. But when you are centered, when you are grounded, when you are connected to the divine light within you, you are protected. Nothing can touch you that you do not allow. This is why spiritual practice is so important for sensitives. You need tools, you need techniques, you need a daily practice that keeps you connected to your source, to your center, to your truth. For some people, this is prayer. For some, it is meditation. For some, it is working with crystals or sacred herbs or protective symbols. It does not matter what form it takes. What matters is that you have something that anchors you, something that reminds you of who you really are, something that keeps you aligned with the light. And when you do encounter darkness, when you do sense something negative, you do not run from it. You do not give it power by fearing it. Instead, you acknowledge it, you bless it, and you send it on its way. You say, I see you. I am not afraid of you, and you have no power here. And you fill yourself with light, with love, with the presence of the divine, and you will find that the darkness cannot stand in the presence of that light. It dissolves, it retreats, it has no choice. I want to share with you a vision that came to me many years ago, a vision that has shaped my understanding of what it means to be a sensitive in this world. I saw humanity as a vast ocean, and most people were swimming on the surface, concerned with the waves, with the weather, with the immediate conditions around them. But there were some, a smaller number, who were diving deep, who were exploring the depths, who were discovering what lay beneath the surface. And these divers, these explorers of the deep, they brought back treasures. They brought back wisdom. They brought back understanding. But they also faced dangers that the surface swimmers never encountered. They faced the pressure of the depths, the darkness, the unknown creatures that lived in those hidden places. And I understood that sensitives are the divers. We are the ones who go deep. We are the ones who explore the hidden dimensions of reality. And yes, it is more dangerous down there. Yes, it is more challenging. But it is also where the real treasures are found. It is where the mysteries are revealed. It is where the truth lives. And the surface swimmers, they need us. They need what we bring back. They need the insights, the wisdom, the understanding that can only come from diving deep. But they will never understand the journey we take to get those treasures. They will never understand the courage it requires, the strength it demands, the sacrifices we make. And that is okay. We do not dive for their approval. We dive because it is our nature. We dive because we cannot help it. We dive because the depths call to us in a way that the surface never could. So, if you have this gift, if you are a diver, I want you to honor that. I want you to stop trying to be a surface swimmer. I want you to embrace the depths, but I also want you to learn to dive safely, to dive wisely, to dive with the proper training and tools and support, because the depths are not a place to explore recklessly. They demand respect. They demand preparation. They demand humility. Let me tell you about the concept of spiritual hygiene, because this is something that every sensitive must understand and practice. Just as you would not go days without bathing your physical body, you cannot go days without cleansing your energetic body. Every interaction you have, every place you visit, every emotion you feel, it all leaves an imprint on your energy field. And if you do not regularly cleanse and clear yourself, these imprints accumulate. They build up. They create blockages, distortions, heaviness. There are many ways to practice spiritual hygiene. Some people use salt baths. Some people use sage or palo santo to smudge their space and their body. Some people use sound, like singing bowls or tuning forks. Some people use visualization, imagining themselves standing under a waterfall of white light that washes away everything that is not theirs. The specific method is less important than the consistency. You need to make this a daily practice, as automatic as brushing your teeth. And beyond cleansing, you also need to fill yourself with positive energy. You need to consciously choose what you expose yourself to, the music you listen to, the shows you watch, the people you spend time with, the environments you inhabit. All of these things affect your energy field. And as a sensitive, you are more affected than most. So you must be intentional. You must be selective. You must protect your peace as fiercely as you would protect your physical safety. I know this might sound like a lot. I know it might feel overwhelming to think about all the things you need to do, all the ways you need to protect yourself, all the practices you need to maintain. But I want you to understand something. This is not a burden. This is empowerment. When you learn to work with your sensitivity rather than against it, when you develop these skills and practices, you are not limiting yourself. You are liberating yourself. You are taking control of your experience, rather than being at the mercy of every energy that crosses your path. And here is something beautiful that happens when you do this work. Your gift becomes stronger. Your intuition becomes clearer. Your ability to help others becomes more refined. Because you are no longer drowning in the noise. You are no longer overwhelmed by the chaos. You have created space within yourself for the true signal to come through, for the genuine guidance to emerge, for the real wisdom to flow. I have seen this transformation countless times. Someone comes to me exhausted, depleted, ready to give up on their sensitivity altogether. And I teach them these principles, these practices, these ways of working with their gift. And slowly, gradually, they begin to change. The exhaustion lifts, the overwhelm fades, and in its place comes clarity, comes power, comes purpose. They begin to see their sensitivity not as a curse, but as a calling. They begin to understand that they were given this gift for a reason, that they have a role to play, that they are here to serve in a way that only they can. And this is what I want for you. This is why I am sharing this message, because I can see you, even though we have never met. I can see you through the veil, through the connection we share as souls on this journey. And I can see your potential. I can see what you are capable of when you fully embrace your gift. I can see the lives you will touch, the healing you will facilitate, the truth you will speak. But first, you must stop running from yourself. You must stop apologizing for who you are. You must stop trying to dim your light to make others comfortable. There is a teaching from the ancient mystery schools that says, know thyself. And for sensitives, this is the most important work we can do. We must know ourselves deeply, intimately, completely. We must understand our triggers, our patterns, our strengths, our vulnerabilities. We must know when we are picking up on something real and when we are projecting our own fears. We must know the difference between intuition and anxiety, between genuine spiritual guidance and wishful thinking. This kind of self-knowledge does not come easily. It requires brutal honesty. It requires a willingness to look at the parts of yourself you would rather ignore. It requires shadow work, the process of integrating the rejected, denied, hidden aspects of your psyche. Because here is what happens when you do not do shadow work. Your unexamined wounds, your unprocessed traumas, your unconscious fears, they distort your perception. They interfere with your intuition. They create static in the signal. Let me give you an example. Say you have an unconscious fear of abandonment stemming from childhood, and you meet someone new, and you immediately get a bad feeling about them. Is that your intuition warning you that this person is not trustworthy? Or is that your abandonment wound being triggered because this person reminds you of someone who hurt you in the past? Without self-knowledge, without shadow work, you cannot tell the difference. And you might avoid a perfectly good person because of your own unhealed trauma. Or worse, you might ignore genuine red flags because you are so desperate not to be abandoned that you override your intuition. This is why the inner work is not optional for sensitives. It is essential. You must heal your wounds. You must integrate your shadow. You must become conscious of your unconscious patterns, because only then can you trust your gift. Only then can you distinguish between the voice of your soul and the voice of your ego, between divine guidance and psychological projection. And this work, this deep inner work, it is a lifelong journey. There is no finish line. There is no point at which you have arrived and no longer need to grow. Every level of awareness reveals new depths to explore, new shadows to integrate, new aspects of yourself to understand. And this is not a flaw in the system. This is the beauty of it. We are infinite beings having a human experience, and there is always more to discover, always more to become. Now, I want to address something that I know many of you are wondering. How do you use this gift in practical ways? How do you translate sensitivity into something useful, something that serves not just yourself, but others? Because it is one thing to feel deeply, to sense energies, to have intuitive hits, but it is another thing entirely to channel that into meaningful action, into genuine service. The first thing you must understand is that your gift is meant to be shared. It is not given to you for your benefit alone. You are meant to be a bridge between the seen and the unseen, between the conscious and the unconscious, between the human and the divine. And there are many ways to be that bridge. Some sensitives become healers, working with energy, with touch, with presence, to help others release what no longer serves them. Some become counselors or therapists, using their intuitive understanding of human nature to guide people through their struggles. Some become artists, channeling the invisible into form, giving voice to what cannot be spoken, giving shape to what cannot be seen. Some become teachers, sharing the wisdom they have gained through their own journey. Some become simply friends, family members, community members who bring a quality of presence and understanding that others desperately need. There is no one right way to use your gift. The question is not what you should do, but what you are called to do. And you discover this calling not through thinking, not through planning, not through analyzing, but through feeling. You follow what lights you up. You follow what makes you come alive. You follow what feels like a yes in your body, in your heart, in your soul. And you trust that if you are meant to serve in a particular way, the path will open before you. But here is the thing. You cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot serve others if you are depleted yourself. This is why all the practices I have been sharing, the protection, the grounding, the cleansing, the self-knowledge, they are not selfish. They are necessary. They are what allow you to be of service without burning out. They are what allow you to hold space for others without losing yourself. I have seen too many sensitives sacrifice themselves on the altar of service. They give and give and give until there is nothing left. They absorb everyone else's pain until they are drowning in it. They neglect their own needs in the name of helping others. And eventually, they collapse. They burn out. They become bitter, resentful, exhausted. And then they are no good to anyone, least of all themselves. So please, hear me when I say this. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. Setting boundaries is not unkind. Saying no is not a betrayal. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to prioritize your well-being. You are allowed to choose what you give and to whom and when. And in fact, you must, because sustainable service, the kind of service that lasts, the kind of service that truly helps, it can only come from a place of fullness, not from a place of depletion. There is a concept in the spiritual traditions called right action. It means acting in alignment with your highest truth, with divine will, with the natural flow of the universe. And for sensitives, right action often means learning to discern when to engage and when to withdraw, when to give and when to receive, when to open and when to protect. It means trusting your inner guidance, even when it does not make logical sense, even when others do not understand, even when it goes against what you think you should do. I remember a reading I did for a man who was a natural healer. People were drawn to him constantly, always wanting his time, his energy, his help. And he felt obligated to say yes to everyone. He felt guilty when he turned people away. He believed that if he had this gift, he had to use it for anyone who asked. And he was exhausted. He was depleted. He was beginning to resent the very gift that had once brought him so much joy. And I told him something that changed his perspective. I said, just because you can help someone does not mean you are meant to help them. Just because someone asks does not mean you are obligated to give. You must learn to discern who you are truly called to serve and who is simply trying to use your energy because they have not learned to access their own power. And I watched as this truth landed in him. I watched as the burden lifted. He realized that he had been operating from guilt and obligation rather than from genuine calling. And when he started to say no to the people he was not meant to serve, he found that he had so much more to give to the people he was meant to serve. This is the paradox of sensitive service. Less can be more. Boundaries can create deeper connection. Selectivity can lead to greater impact. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you can be exactly what you are meant to be for the right people at the right time. Now, as we move toward the conclusion of our time together, I want to leave you with something to contemplate, something to sit with, something to explore in the quiet moments when you are alone with yourself. The question is this: what if your sensitivity is not just a personal trait, but a spiritual assignment? What if you chose this before you were born as part of your soul's curriculum for this lifetime? What if the challenges you face, the overwhelm, the loneliness, the intensity, what if all of it is part of the training, part of the initiation, part of the process of becoming who you are meant to be? I have come to believe, through my work and through my own experience, that sensitives are old souls. We have been here before. We have walked this earth many times, and we have chosen to come back in this particular time, in this particular way, because we have a role to play in the great transformation that is unfolding. The world is waking up. Consciousness is shifting. The old structures are crumbling, and in this time of chaos and change, the world needs people who can navigate by inner knowing rather than outer authority, who can sense what is true rather than what is merely popular, who can hold space for the unknown rather than clinging to false certainty. You are here for this. Your sensitivity is not a mistake. It is not a flaw. It is not something to be fixed or cured or overcome. It is your medicine. It is your magic. It is your contribution to the healing of this world. But you must claim it. You must own it. You must develop it with intention and care. And I want to be very clear about something. This is not about becoming special or superior. This is not about ego. This is not about setting yourself apart from others in a way that creates separation or judgment. We are all one. We are all connected. We are all expressions of the same divine consciousness. But within that oneness, there is diversity. There are different roles, different gifts, different ways of serving. And your role as a sensitive is to be a receiver, a translator, a bridge. You are here to feel what others cannot feel, to see what others cannot see, and to bring that information back in a way that serves the whole. So I ask you now, as we prepare to close this time together, what will you do with this gift? Will you continue to hide it, to suppress it, to pretend it does not exist? Or will you step into it? Will you develop it? Will you use it in service to something greater than yourself? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. And whatever you choose, the universe will support you. But I will tell you this, the path of embracing your sensitivity, while challenging, is also the path of greatest fulfillment, greatest meaning, greatest joy. Because when you are living in alignment with your true nature, when you are using your gifts in service to love, there is a satisfaction that nothing else can provide. Before I leave you, I want to give you one final practice, one final tool to take with you on your journey. Every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you start your day, I want you to take 3 deep breaths. And with each breath, I want you to set an intention. The first breath, say to yourself, I am protected. The second breath, I am guided. The third breath, I am here to serve. And then place your hand on your heart and feel the truth of those words. Feel the protection that surrounds you. Feel the guidance that is always available to you. Feel the purpose that flows through you. This simple practice, done daily, will begin to shift your relationship with your sensitivity. It will remind you that you are not a victim of your gift, but a steward of it. It will anchor you in your power rather than your fear. It will connect you to the source of all wisdom, all strength, all love. And remember, you are not alone on this path. There are others walking beside you, even if you cannot see them. There are guides in the unseen realms supporting you, even if you cannot hear them. And there is a part of you, your higher self, your soul, that knows exactly what you need and exactly where you are going. Trust that. Trust yourself. Trust the journey. I want to thank you for being here, for listening, for being open to this message. I know it has been long, but there was much that needed to be said. And if you have stayed with me until this point, it tells me that you are serious about this path, that you are ready for the next level of your journey. And that fills me with hope, because the world needs more people like you, more people who are willing to dive deep, to feel deeply, to serve from a place of authentic spiritual connection. So here is my final request. Go to the comments right now and tell me, what is one way your sensitivity has shown up in your life? What is one experience you have had that you cannot explain through logic alone? Share your story. Let others see that they are not alone. Let yourself be seen. And if this message has touched you, if it has helped you in any way, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because there is someone in your life right now who is struggling with their sensitivity, who feels alone, who needs to know that what they have is a gift. Be the bridge for them. Be the one who helps them see the truth. And subscribe to this channel if you have not already, because I will continue to create content like this, content that speaks to the deeper mysteries, content that honors the journey of the sensitive soul, content that reminds you of who you really are. This is not just entertainment. This is soul work. This is the real work of transformation. And I am honored to walk this path with you. May you be blessed on your journey. May you find the courage to embrace your gift. May you discover the joy that comes from living in alignment with your true nature. And may you always remember that you are loved, you are supported, and you are exactly where you need to be. Until we meet again, in this realm or another, I hold you in the light. But before I truly release you back into your day, into your life, into your journey, there is more that must be shared. There are layers to this gift that we have only begun to touch upon, and I feel compelled to go deeper with you, to explore the territories that many teachers avoid because they are complex, because they are nuanced, because they require a level of spiritual maturity to truly understand. Let us talk about the relationship between sensitivity and physical health. This is something that is rarely discussed, and yet it is crucial for your well-being. When you are highly sensitive, when you are absorbing energies constantly, When you are processing information on multiple levels simultaneously, it takes a toll on your physical body. Your nervous system is working overtime. Your adrenal glands are constantly activated. Your immune system can become compromised because so much of your energy is being used to process the invisible rather than to maintain the visible. I have seen this pattern in countless readings. A sensitive person comes to me with chronic fatigue, with mysterious illnesses that doctors cannot diagnose, with pain that moves around the body without apparent cause. And when I look deeper, when I read their energy field, I see that their physical symptoms are manifestations of energetic overload. Their body is trying to tell them something. It is saying, slow down, protect yourself, create boundaries, rest. And this is why the practices I have shared are not optional luxuries. They are essential maintenance. When you cleanse your energy field regularly, when you ground yourself, when you protect your boundaries, you are not just supporting your spiritual well-being. You are supporting your physical health. You are giving your nervous system a chance to rest. You are allowing your body to use its energy for healing and regeneration, rather than for constant processing of external stimuli. There is also a deep connection between sensitivity and the foods you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe. As a sensitive, you are more affected by toxins, by chemicals, by processed foods, by environmental pollutants. Your body is like a finely tuned instrument, and it requires high-quality fuel to function properly. This does not mean you need to become obsessive or fearful about what you consume, but it does mean you need to pay attention. You need to notice how different foods make you feel, how different environments affect your energy, how different substances impact your clarity. Many sensitives find that they naturally gravitate toward cleaner diets, toward organic foods, toward natural environments. This is not coincidence. This is your body's wisdom, guiding you toward what supports your gift rather than what depletes it. Listen to that wisdom. Trust it. Honor it. Now I want to address something that is deeply important and often misunderstood, and that is the relationship between sensitivity and relationships. When you are a sensitive person, relationships are more complex. You feel everything more deeply. You pick up on subtleties that others miss. You know when someone is lying, even when they are lying to themselves. You sense the unspoken tensions, the hidden resentments, the secret fears, and this can make relationships both incredibly rich and incredibly challenging. On one hand, your sensitivity allows you to connect with others at a profound level. You can offer a quality of understanding and empathy that is rare and precious. You can see people not just as they present themselves, but as they truly are, beneath the masks and defenses. You can hold space for their pain, their joy, their complexity, in a way that helps them feel truly seen and accepted. But on the other hand, your sensitivity can make you vulnerable to being hurt more easily, to taking on other people's emotions, to losing yourself in relationships. You might find yourself in patterns where you are always the one giving, always the one understanding, always the one accommodating. You might attract people who are drawn to your light, but who are not capable of reciprocating the depth of care you offer. You might find yourself exhausted by relationships that others find perfectly manageable. This is why it is so important for sensitives to be very conscious and intentional about who they allow into their inner circle. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone has earned the right to your deep presence. And this is not about being elitist or judgmental. This is about recognizing that your energy is precious, that your sensitivity is a gift, and that you must protect it if you want to continue using it in service. I want to share with you a principle that has guided me in my own relationships and that I have shared with countless others. It is this: seek reciprocity, not just in action, but in consciousness. What I mean by this is that you want to surround yourself with people who are also doing their inner work, who are also committed to growth, who are also willing to look at themselves honestly. Because when you are in relationship with people who are unconscious, who are not willing to examine their patterns, who are not interested in healing their wounds, you will find yourself constantly drained, constantly frustrated, constantly disappointed. But when you are in relationship with people who are awake, who are conscious, who are committed to their own evolution, something beautiful happens. The relationship becomes a container for mutual growth. You can be sensitive without being taken advantage of. You can be open without being depleted. You can give deeply while also receiving deeply. And this kind of relationship, this kind of conscious connection, it is one of the greatest joys available to us as human beings. Let me also speak to those of you who are sensitives and who are parents, or who are considering becoming parents. This is a unique challenge and a unique opportunity. When you are a sensitive parent, you feel your children's emotions as if they were your own. You know when something is wrong before they tell you. You can sense their pain, their fear, their joy with an intensity that can be overwhelming. And this can be a tremendous gift. You can respond to your children's needs with a level of attunement that helps them feel deeply understood and supported. You can create an environment where emotions are honored rather than suppressed, where sensitivity is celebrated rather than shamed. You can raise children who are comfortable with their own feelings, who trust their intuition, who know how to protect their energy. But you must also be careful not to lose yourself in your children's experience. You must learn to distinguish between what they are feeling and what you are feeling. You must maintain your own boundaries even as you remain open and responsive to them. And you must model for them what it looks like to be a healthy, empowered, sensitive, rather than a overwhelmed, depleted one. I have done readings from many sensitive parents who were struggling with this balance, and the guidance that comes through is always the same. Take care of yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in a wise way. Because when you are grounded, protected, and energized, you have so much more to give to your children. But when you are depleted and overwhelmed, you cannot serve them well, no matter how much you love them. Now, let us explore the connection between sensitivity and creativity. There is a reason why so many artists, writers, musicians, and creators are highly sensitive. The same openness that allows you to feel energies, to sense the invisible, to perceive beyond the veil. This same openness allows you to access the creative source, the wellspring of inspiration, the realm where new ideas are born. When you create from a place of sensitivity, when you allow yourself to be a channel for the creative force that flows through all things, you produce work that touches people at a deep level. Your art carries a frequency, an energy, a truth that resonates with the soul. People might not be able to articulate why your work moves them, but they feel it, they know it, they recognize something in it that speaks to the deepest part of themselves. But here is what many sensitive creators struggle with. They are so open to the creative flow that they can become overwhelmed by it. Ideas come faster than they can execute them. Inspiration strikes at inconvenient times. The creative energy can feel like a flood that threatens to drown them, rather than a river they can navigate. And this is where discipline becomes essential. Creativity without structure is chaos. Sensitivity without boundaries is overwhelm. You must learn to work with the creative force rather than being at its mercy. This means establishing regular creative practices, creating containers for your inspiration, developing the skills and techniques that allow you to translate what you receive into tangible form. I want to share with you a practice that many creative sensitives have found helpful. Set aside a specific time each day for creative work. It does not have to be long. Even 15 minutes is enough, but make it sacred. Make it non-negotiable. And during that time, allow yourself to be completely open to whatever wants to come through. Do not judge it. Do not edit it. Do not worry about whether it is good or useful or marketable. Just let it flow. And then, at a different time, you can come back to what you created and refine it, shape it, polish it, but keep the receiving and the refining as separate processes. Because when you try to do both at once, when you try to be open and critical simultaneously, you block the flow. You interfere with the channel. You get in your own way. This principle applies not just to artistic creativity, but to any kind of creative work. Whether you are solving problems, designing solutions, developing ideas, or innovating in your field, the process is the same. First, open and receive. Then, evaluate and refine. Keep these two modes separate, and you will find that your creative output increases exponentially. Let me now address a question that I know many of you carry, even if you have never spoken it aloud. The question is this: am I going crazy? Am I losing my mind? Are these experiences real, or am I delusional? This is a question that haunts many sensitives, especially in the early stages of awakening, especially when the experiences are intense and there is no one around who understands. And I want to say this as clearly and directly as I can. You are not crazy. The fact that you are questioning your sanity is actually evidence that you are sane. Truly delusional people do not question their delusions. They are certain of them. But you are seeking to understand, to discern, to make sense of your experience. And that is the mark of a healthy, functioning mind that is encountering something beyond its current framework of understanding. What you are experiencing is real. It is not a hallucination. It is not a symptom of mental illness. It is a perception of dimensions of reality that most people are not tuned into. And yes, it can be disorienting. Yes, it can be frightening. Yes, it can make you feel alone and misunderstood. But that does not make it any less real. The challenge is that we live in a culture that has a very narrow definition of reality. If something cannot be measured, quantified, or explained by current scientific models, it is dismissed as imaginary. But this is a limitation of the culture, not a limitation of reality. Reality is far more vast, far more mysterious, far more multidimensional than our current paradigms acknowledge. And you, as a sensitive, you are experiencing the edges of that vastness. You are perceiving what lies beyond the agreed-upon consensus reality. And this is not a problem to be fixed. It is a gift to be developed. But you must find ways to ground your experiences, to integrate them, to make sense of them in a way that allows you to function in the everyday world while also honoring the expanded reality you are perceiving. This is where having a spiritual practice, a community of like-minded souls, and perhaps a mentor or guide who has walked this path before you becomes invaluable. You need people who can reflect back to you that what you are experiencing is real and valid, while also helping you discern between genuine spiritual perception and psychological projection, between divine guidance and ego fantasy, between helpful information and fear-based distortion. I also want to speak to the sensitives who are experiencing what might be called spiritual emergence or spiritual emergency. This is when the awakening process happens so rapidly, so intensely, that it becomes destabilizing. You might be having visions, hearing voices, experiencing energies so powerful that you cannot function in your normal life. You might feel like you are being torn apart, like everything you thought you knew is dissolving, like you are losing your grip on reality. If this is you, please hear me. You are not broken. You are not being punished. You are going through a profound transformation, a death and rebirth of consciousness. And while it is intense, while it is challenging, it is also sacred. It is your soul breaking through the limitations of your ego, your true nature asserting itself, your divine essence demanding to be recognized. But you need support. You need grounding. You need people who understand what you are going through and can help you navigate it safely. Do not try to do this alone. Reach out. Find a therapist who understands spiritual emergence. Find a spiritual teacher or guide who has experience with these processes. Find a community where you can share what you are experiencing without fear of being judged or pathologized. And in the meantime, focus on the basics. Eat nourishing food. Get enough sleep. Spend time in nature. Move your body. These simple physical practices can help anchor you when the spiritual energies are overwhelming. They remind your system that you are still here, still embodied, still connected to the earth. Now, I want to return to something I mentioned earlier and explore it more deeply, and that is the concept of being a bridge between worlds. This is, in my understanding, the true purpose of sensitivity. You are not just experiencing these expanded states of consciousness for your own benefit. You are meant to bring back what you learn, what you see, what you understand, and translate it into forms that can help others. Think of yourself as a translator. You speak the language of the invisible realms, and you also speak the language of the everyday world. And your job is to take the wisdom, the insights, the truths that you receive from the invisible, and translate them into words, into actions, into creations that others can understand and benefit from. This is not always easy. The invisible realms operate according to different laws than the physical world. What makes perfect sense in a vision or a meditation can seem nonsensical when you try to put it into words. What feels profoundly true in an expanded state of consciousness can seem naive or simplistic when you return to ordinary awareness. But this is the work. This is the challenge. This is what you are here to do. And the more you practice it, the better you become at it. You learn to find the metaphors, the stories, the frameworks that can carry the essence of what you have experienced without losing its power in the translation. And here is something beautiful that happens when you do this work well. You help others awaken to their own sensitivity. You give them permission to trust their own experiences. You show them that there is a way to be both spiritual and practical, both mystical and grounded, both open to the invisible and functional in the visible. This is how consciousness evolves, not through one person having all the answers and everyone else following them, but through each person awakening to their own direct connection to Source, to truth, to the divine. And sensitives, we are the ones who help catalyze that awakening in others. We are the ones who demonstrate that it is possible, that it is real, that it is worth the journey. Let me share with you one more teaching, one more piece of wisdom that has been given to me through the years. It is about the relationship between sensitivity and time. Most people experience time as linear, as a straight line moving from past to present to future. But sensitives often experience time differently. You might have memories of things that have not happened yet. You might feel the presence of past lives. You might experience moments where time seems to stop or expand or collapse. This is because sensitivity opens you to what might be called the eternal now, the dimension of consciousness where all time exists simultaneously. Past, present, and future are not separate. They are different facets of a single, eternal moment. And when you are in an expanded state of awareness, you can perceive this. You can access information from what appears to be the future or the past, because from the perspective of the eternal now, it is all happening at once.
This can be disorienting if you do not understand it. You might question your memories, wondering if they are real or imagined. You might have precognitive experiences that frighten you. You might feel unstuck in time, unanchored, floating. But when you understand what is happening, when you recognize that you are perceiving a deeper dimension of time, it becomes less frightening and more fascinating. You begin to work with it consciously. You learn to access information from different time streams. You understand that the future is not fixed, but fluid, shaped by the choices we make in each moment.
You realize that healing can happen across time, that you can send love and light to your past self, to your future self, to your ancestors, to your descendants. This is advanced work, and I do not want to overwhelm you with it if you are just beginning your journey. But I want you to know that it is possible. I want you to know that if you are having these kinds of experiences, you are not losing your mind. You are expanding your consciousness. You are accessing abilities that are natural to the soul, but dormant in most people. As we truly begin to draw toward the close of our time together, I want to offer you a vision of what is possible when you fully embrace your sensitivity, when you develop it with wisdom and care, when you use it in service to love. I want you to see what you can become, not to create pressure or expectation, but to inspire you, to call you forward, to remind you of your potential. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, having done the work I have described. You have learned to protect your energy without closing your heart. You have developed discernment that allows you to distinguish between your own emotions and those of others. You have healed your wounds and integrated your shadow. You have established daily practices that keep you grounded, clear, and connected to Source. You have found your tribe, your community of fellow sensitives who understand and support you. You have discovered how to use your gift in service, whether through healing, teaching, creating, or simply being a presence of love and understanding in the lives of those around you. In this future version of yourself, your sensitivity is no longer a burden. It is a superpower. It is a source of joy, of meaning, of deep fulfillment. You trust yourself completely. You trust your intuition. You trust your perceptions. You know when to engage and when to withdraw. You know how to give without depleting yourself. You know how to receive without guilt. You are living in alignment with your true nature, and it shows. People are drawn to you. They feel safe with you. They open up to you in ways they do not with others, and you are able to hold that space for them without losing yourself. This is not a fantasy. This is not an impossible dream. This is what is available to you when you commit to the path, when you do the work, when you honor your gift. And I have seen it happen countless times. I have watched people transform from overwhelmed, confused, frightened sensitives into empowered, clear, purposeful beings who are making a real difference in the world. And this can be you. This will be you if you choose it. Because the universe is always supporting your highest evolution. The divine is always calling you toward your fullest expression. Your soul knows exactly who you are meant to become, and every challenge you face, every difficulty you encounter, every moment of overwhelm or confusion, it is all part of the process. It is all part of the initiation. It is all part of the journey from unconscious sensitivity to conscious mastery. So I invite you, right now, in this moment, to make a commitment to yourself. Not a commitment to be perfect, not a commitment to never struggle, but a commitment to honor your gift, a commitment to do the work, a commitment to trust the process, a commitment to believe that you are here for a reason, that your sensitivity is not a mistake, that you have something unique and valuable to offer to this world. And as you make that commitment, feel it in your body, feel it in your heart, feel it in your soul. Let it anchor into every cell of your being. Because when you commit at this deep level, when you say yes to your true nature, the universe responds. Doors open, teachers appear, resources become available. The path unfolds before you in ways you could never have planned or predicted. This is the magic of alignment. This is the power of living in harmony with your soul's purpose. And it is available to you right now in this very moment. All you have to do is say yes. All you have to do is choose it. All you have to do is take the first step, and then the next, and then the next, trusting that each step will be revealed as you need it. My dear friends, my fellow travelers, my brothers and sisters in sensitivity, I want to leave you with one final blessing. May you always remember who you truly are. May you never forget that you are a divine being having a human experience, not a human being hoping for a divine experience. May you trust your sensitivity as the gift that it is. May you develop it with wisdom and use it with love. May you find your tribe and know that you are never alone. May you heal what needs to be healed and integrate what needs to be integrated. May you live in alignment with your highest truth and serve from the fullness of your being. And may you always, always remember that you are loved beyond measure, supported beyond what you can see, and guided by forces that have your highest good at heart. You are exactly where you need to be. You are exactly who you need to be. And you are enough, just as you are, even as you continue to grow and evolve. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your willingness to embrace your sensitivity rather than run from it. The world is better because you are in it, and I am honored to have shared this time with you. Until we meet again, in this realm or another, I hold you in the light.